Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And today is my full spoiler-free review of Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. Okay, so before we get into this video, you guys need to know that my two favorite genres of books are number one, young adult contemporary, and number two, mysteries and thrillers. But I don't just like the typical mystery or thriller, you know? I like things that are really kind of a turn or a twist on the original, or something that makes you think outside the box. I love to read mysteries or thrillers that scare the hell out of me and make me go, I don't know what's going on next. So those are the books that I'm constantly looking for. So if you hear me on my videos talk about like this is like one of the greatest mysteries or thrillers I've ever talked about or read before, then you will know that this is a book you need to go get, okay? Because I am very fickle when it comes to my mysteries and thrillers. Like, I know what I like, if that makes sense. And I just wanted to go in here because it has been a very good 2018 so far for me in reading mysteries and thrillers. And the first one that I read was The Woman in the Window. I gave it 5 stars, and I've gone on and on and on about this book. The audio of all these books I listen to on Audible, the audio version is fantastic, okay? The Woman in the Window is so creepy, and like didn't really know what was going on till the very end. I will tell you that one of the interesting things about 2018 is that the trend for mysteries seems to be the untrustworthy alcoholic narrative. I don't know why, or narrator. I don't know why that is, but that seems to be the case in almost every book that I read. And so The Woman in the Window has a lot of that in there by A.J. Finn. And A.J. Finn is working on, I listened to the interview at the end of the Audible version with him, and he is working on his second book. And he talked a lot about like film noir because there's a hint to a lot of Alfred Hitchcock books or Alfred Hitchcock movies in the book, The Woman in the Window. It talks a lot about Rear Window and other movies. And it doesn't just talk about Alfred Hitchcock movies. It talks about like a lot of old movies just in general, which I love. So his next book is about San Francisco. And I'm immediately thinking, you know, like the movie Chinatown. And it's interesting because he is like recreating that whole kind of film noir feel within his book. So if you haven't read Woman in the Window, go check it out. But then I read Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, okay, which is a young adult mystery, and it's going to be a series. And I'm like, oh my God, can she just put out the next book? Like, this was one of the most fantastic young adult mysteries I've ever read, if not the best. It was so well done. And, you know, on the heels of John Green doing Turtles All the Way Down, which was, excuse me, which was kind of a mystery, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I gave it 3 stars. It just wasn't my favorite John Green book. But this, Truly Devious, was was fantastic. Okay, and so the next book that I read was The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor, and he is so nice. He like retweets me constantly, and he is always like putting out his favorite booktubers on Fridays, like Follow Friday and stuff. So go follow him because he will like follow you back and be really active with you if you're a booktuber. He's very, very cool. So go read his book, The Chalk Man, and do a review of it. And he is one of the most decent authors I've ever met. So hey, CJ, how are you? And I gave that book 3 stars. You know, in retrospect, and not because he's been so friendly to me, I said in the review that for me, it reminded me a lot of other books, but I could see it totally as a movie. And as a movie, I would have given it 4 or 5 stars. But as a book, it just was very slow for me. But I do think, like my uncle who loves mysteries would have given this like a 5 star. I mean, across the board, he would have loved it. So that was just my take on it. And then I read The Flight Attendant, and I can never pronounce Chris's name, by Chris Bohesian. I don't know how to pronounce it. Somebody sent me a message and said he lives in my town and this is how to pronounce it. And I saved that message. I have it like as a screenshot, and I forget to continue to go back to that. And The Flight Attendant, I gave 4 stars, and it was very, very good. It was a mystery too, but I could kind of figure out the mystery before the end. It was literary fiction and a mystery, so it was kind of hard to, you know, go back and forth between what it really felt like, if that makes sense. And then we come upon Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough, and here is what it looks like if you guys haven't seen it. Come on, pull up on my Goodreads. There it is, Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I did not know what to think about this book before I read it, so let me read the caption for you. Ooh, it's long. Why is everyone talking about the ending of Sarah Pinborough's Behind Her Eyes? I didn't know what to make of that, but let me just tell you, the ending, I was shook. I was like, I could not believe it. And it was like wound together so perfectly. I mean, she is a genius writer, okay? To put together and weave this mystery, how it all goes down. Louise is a single mom, a secretary stuck in a modern day rut. On a rare night out, she meets a man in a bar and sparks fly. Though he leaves after they kiss, she's thrilled she finally connected with someone. When Louise arrives at work on Monday, she meets her new boss, David, the man from the bar. The very married man from the bar who says the kiss was a terrible mistake, but who still can't keep his eyes off Louise. And then Louise bumps into Adele, who's new to town and in need of a friend. But she also just happens to be married to David. Love triangle much? Okay. David and Adele look like the picture-perfect husband and wife. But then why is David so controlling, and why is Adele so scared of him? As Louise is drawn into David and Adele's orbit, she uncovers more puzzling questions than answers. The only thing that is crystal clear is that something in this marriage is very, very wrong. But Louise can't guess how wrong, and how far a person might go to protect their marriage's secrets. Okay. I gave this book 5 stars. I would give it 99%. The only 1% I wouldn't give is that there wasn't like some huge meaning or like life-changing event to take from this book. But as far as a mystery or a thriller, it's hands down probably one of the top 2 I've ever read in my entire life. It was so fantastic. And there is very much, okay, and when I say this word, I don't want to say a whole lot more, but there is a psychological element to this book. First of all, okay, there is this planning web of deceit that goes through this book that you don't really, I mean, you get it from the beginning because it goes back and forth between Louise and Adele. It goes back and forth between the secretary speaking and Adele, the wife speaking, and it goes back and forth. And so right from the get-go, you see the web being created, but you have no idea what the purpose is, and you have no idea what direction it's going into. And then this psychological element, okay, and I'm not just talking about psychological like, you know, diagnoses, which are a big part of this book. I'm talking about on a deeper level, okay? I'm talking about like, let's just say dreams are a big part of this book, and it's almost kind of like on a weird level. That's all I want to say. You need to be surprised when you read this book, okay? And I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. But it gets on a psychological level that it's like at times you're like, is this like really happening? Like, this is crazy, okay? And I have to be honest with you. I read enough books, enough mysteries that I always kind of see the stuff coming ahead of time. You know, there's always like, because there's kind of patterns to stuff. And, you know, I would say that was my only issue with the Chalk Man was that I saw a lot of where it was going. But I do think that it's incredible. That's why I would never write a mystery. It's incredibly different. It's incredible. This is why I don't edit, okay? Because it's for these blooper moments. Why have a blooper reel when you can just include them in the video? It's for these moments. It's incredibly difficult to write a really good mystery that nobody's ever read before, anything like it, and do it in such a genius way that nobody sees the ending coming, but behind her eyes is just that. I did not see it coming at all. I mean, okay, and here's the thing about it, right? Well, do I want to say this? Well, I'll just say this, okay? Don't anybody, first of all, in the comment sections ruin this for anybody else. I'm telling you right now, okay? I would have been pissed if somebody had ruined this for me because you could explain it to somebody, but well, that's not necessarily true. I was trying to explain it to my husband because he ain't gonna read it. So I was trying to explain it to him at brunch the other day, and I'm like, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, because I was so, like, when I finished it, I was like, oh my God, did that just happen? And I was like explaining this and explaining that and explaining this, and he's like, and I was like, you don't get it. And he was like, oh, I totally get it. I'm like, you can't possibly get it, right? It is so fantastic. I'm telling you, you have never read an ending of a book, okay, like this before. And the thing is that it wasn't just like an ending that the author like just pulled out of her butt, you know? Sorry. But it wasn't. I mean, like, it was an ending that she really thought through from the very beginning. I mean, this is a book that had to have been so finely crafted and so finely developed before she ever put, you know, pen to paper or finger to keyboard or whatever to begin writing the book. Because there's no way you could write this book. I mean, this was not an organic book, right? Like, before the book ever started, she had to know the plan of where it was going to go through the entire book because it is that calculated of a book. And as you read it, you almost kind of read it from Louise's point of view. So you're finding out things as she's finding out things, and I'm telling you, I could not believe it. And the thing is that the writer is so fantastic at getting you to either love or hate the characters, but be very confused about your emotions at the same time. And so it feels very real to life, but there is some crazy stuff in this book. I mean, absolutely crazy that I never expected. This is probably, so far, the best mystery I have read in the last 5 years. Close second was The Woman in the Window, but this one is like, whew. I mean, this is like a race and they're running and the other person just like passes you by and wins the whole race. I mean, the ending alone is just like, took the cake, you know? I definitely think you guys should go read it. I will link it below. Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. It's fantastic, you guys. One of the best mysteries I've ever read in my entire life. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.